One of Mudgee's historic properties, Gooree Park Stud, are known for breeding some of the toughest, most resilient racehorses in the country, including the likes of Desert War, Northern Meteor, and Tempest Morn, all of whom Gay trained. The Gooree Park Stud and Gay Waterhouse partnership is one like no other, and the results really do speak for themselves. Bruce, I'll start with you. Can you tell us a bit about the success of the partnership over the last 30 years?
Looking back, what really struck me was the fact that we're probably looking at, outside of Godolphin, the most successful one-out owner, certainly the last 30, 40 years, Mr. Coenco and Gooree, winning some 180 stakes races since 1978, right through to Mr. Coenco's passing in 2020. And thanks to the Coenco family and Andrew Baddock, his long-serving stud manager, we've been able to sort of pull out all those stakes wins for Gooree over that time. And then, of course, bring that into our view, or Gay's view from Tulloch Lodge. And we looked at it closely here, and of the 180 stakes winners over that 40-year period, I think Gay trained for Mr. Coenco for 20 years and produced nearly half of the stakes wins for Gooree, 78 and counting to date, not including Henry Coenco's stakes wins in those yellow and black colours. So, not only did Gay account for so much of Gooree's success in that time, but of course Gooree contributed so much to Gay as well, and Tulloch Lodge through that time. Just as a rough figure, Gooree were accounting for about 10% of all stakes winners for stakes wins for Tulloch Lodge through their time with Gay, which is incredible given they were giving the stable about 15 yearlings a year. And I suppose Desert War, the war horses they called them, probably embodied everything that Gooree was about and everything that Gay was about. He was a tough, sound horse that you could work hard, that you could feed hard. Very typical Gooree and very typical Gay. He was a brave, front-running, bone and muscle racehorse, so typical of Gay's training style and typical of the runners out of the Tulloch Lodge system, and now with Adrian too. So, I think it's just a fantastic combination, probably the most successful owner-trainer combination outside of Godolphin in the last 30 years. And it's quite interesting to look back at it and understand, why it was successful and how do we replicate that going forward. And I'd be interested in your thoughts, Gay, on why it was such a success, this partnership, and those points that we might take going forward to make sure that we get that continued success.
I love buying horses, training horses, being given horses from this wonderful stud. First of all, it's the soil. The soil has got the wonderful black earth, the black soil. Next is the elevation. It's that much higher than the other studs around it. And they've got these wonderful big paddocks, and horses can grow and extend, and they get wonderful muscle tone, great bone density, and they just breed champions. Now, some studs can't do this, but the one thing Gooree does, and does exceedingly well, is breed good, tough horses.
One of Gooree Stud's horses that really springs to mind for me is Amanpour. She was a brilliant 2-year-old, very good 3-year-old, and was able to claim her Group 1 in the Queen of the Turf as a 4-year-old. She was probably the one filly mare that really stuck to me. Very, very tough, obviously very resilient, and just a beautiful filly, a beautiful mare. Adrian, what's your memories of Gooree?
I think personally, the horse that might have won the first big race for Gooree was sort of associated with the stable was Romantic Touch. Sort of very typical. I think of the type of horse that came off the farm there. Nice big raw individual in the early stages. Took him a couple of races, sort of put it all together. But when he did, he was electric. I think sort of before going up to winning the JJ Atkins. He won a race at Canterbury by 7 lengths, and then went up to win the JJ Atkins, beating Zooster. So a hot year, and just that incredibly tough and strong horse, and so well built and developed, that we sort of became accustomed to seeing off the farm. So I think in my time he was the first Group 1 winner. Following that, a nice filly in Speak Fondly. She was probably the best of her generation. She was excellent. So they're 2 ones that spring to mind, two Group 1 winners. And it's amazing to see the association and Bruce here, those sort of stats and statistics. We know sort of always sort of looking where the sort of where the statistics sort of lie in your favour, and you've sort of only got to look at the one source here and sort of say, how do we try and replicate it? Well, we don't necessarily have to go replicate it. We can, we're in a fortunate position the last couple of years that we've able to have access to those bloodlines now, with Gooree now sort of being a more commercial operation, and offering up some of their families for sale. So we take full advantage of that at every opportunity, and that's exactly why the stats are proven over generations. They're there for everyone to see, particularly with this stable. So we really jumped at the opportunity, any opportunity we can get to get access to those bloodlines at any sort of commercial and public sale.
The horse we're profiling for you today is our written by Nazcoy 2-year-old filly. And yes, you may have guessed it, but she was bred by Gooree Park Stud. Purchased for $160,000 at last year's English Classic sale. The filly is by champion 2-year-old and Blue Diamond winner out of a fast winning Exceed and Excel mare who is the half sister to Group 1 winner, Your Song. Adrian, the filly has just exploded physically in the last 12 months. She's deep into her current preparation and she's fast approaching a trial in the coming weeks. What can you tell us about her?
Yeah, really excited by what we've seen from her just in the last few weeks in particular. She's a filly that's just been held back from the early part of her education in sort of the back end of her yearling preparation, but she's deep into the 2-year-old campaign now, and most pleased with the progression that she's made for a filly that was probably originally a little bit behind in terms of sort of timing. I think she's gone ahead very quickly. She's that extra time's done the world of good physically. She looks beautiful at present. Just a really strong, well balanced filly that I think is really ready to go right on with it now. We're going to jump her out next week. Will be the first jump out of her career, and she can go through, I think, very quickly to the trials and the races this campaign. That's sort of how far I think she's come and how far I think she can go. I think we're really only just starting to scratch the surface with her, which is great. It's not sort of the first time that we've seen some of these sort of profile of fillies come through late in the season that we've just held back, for whatever reason at the start of their career. Probably last season it may have been North Star Lass. She came out and sort of won on debut at the end of her 2-year-old career, and sort of won a stakes race in her second campaign. She out the bar probably the season before or two. She, we didn't see her start until sort of the 3-year-old part of her career, and she actually quickly went on and won a Group 1 at a 4th start. So certain profiles of horses that actually can sort of work really, really well for them. And I think this filly's profiling up particularly well, getting some great feedback on her. The certain partners that we've been working her with and assessing her ability on and getting aligned through in her track work, and her ability, what she's matching up with and what she's able to do at a very early stage and very quickly, has certainly been impressive in that regard.
Adrian and I have given her the time to mature and grow, and she's done exactly that. With 6 weeks of training under her belt, she's ready to rock and roll. And Adrian could not be more pleased with this filly. I could not recommend her more strongly. If you want something that will get up and go, that's exactly what this filly is.
I would just like to add that this filly is just atypical Gooree. Not only bred and raised off that incredibly successful Mudgee property, but she's come into the stable. They're often big and raw with plenty of scope, those Gooree horses. and like this filly, you know, just get better and better as they mature. She's dark bay brown. She's a beautiful sort, but genetically she's exactly what Mr. Coanco, I understand, believed in. You know, if you look at Northern Meteor, for instance, if you look at Desert War, he loved buying into those top class champion American families. They were always sort of mares that might be a generation away from black type that he'd source in the US and bring down here, but they'd always have massive, you know, third and fourth dams. And this filly's just the same. I think inside her first 6 generations, she's got 14 champions, and that's not Group 1 winners. That's champions, like best of generations type thing. So she's got a massive depth to her pedigree, this filly, being able to exceed and excel mare. The pedigree as showing Mr. Coanco to be sort of right in his belief already, where Your Songs come out of the second dam. Obviously an Australian Group 1 winner, lightly raced, went to stud. I think her third dam might be by Mr. Prospector. She's got Nearctic in there as well. I mean, it's just genetic strength all the way through. And I quite like the fact that she's sort of come full circle, being written by, who's doing a great job with his first crop 2-year-olds. Of course, Written By was bred and raced by Neville Begg, who was the first ever trainer for Mr. Coanco in Australia. And actually, on the back of his first horse with Neville Begg, his first Group 1 winner, he then purchased Gooree on the back of that filly, Capelan, back in 1979. So you've got Neville Begg on the top line there. You've got that fantastic Gooree family on the bottom side, and we know where Gooree horses have done best in the past, and that's with Gay at Tulloch Lodge, and here she is. So I'm really excited to see where she gets to for Adrian and for Gay now, and Claudia well priced, you know, as well. I mean, she's a lovely priced filly in a price point where everyone can afford, and with prize money now, a filly that can win back her purchase price pretty quickly if she can, you know, follow closely on the heels of all those great Gooree horses in the past.
Absolutely. Yeah, she is really sensibly priced. She's almost ready to go, and shares are available. So if you're interested, please do get in touch.